Hey, I'm John Crestani here, and I spent over $1 million building this house. It was a long process, and I'm going to go over what I learned during this process. And you can see I built a pretty nice house out here in Malibu, California. It's dark outside right now, so you can't see the amazing views. I'll throw up some B-roll of kind of the surrounding scenery here. I'm on 3 acres. But I'll go over what I learned. Now, the first thing I learned in my experience building a house is that the prices for things change a lot. And the price you get as a bid from your contractor is not going to be the price you end up spending to actually build the house. So our original bid was hundreds of thousands of dollars different from what we actually ended up spending to actually build this house. Now, just to give you a case in point, when we got the bid on what it would cost to build our house to when we were building our house, timber, which is a big component, it's probably one of the biggest costs of any house, went up 6 times, okay? 6 times higher. When I went to build my house, timber was about $250 per whatever, and then it went up to $1,500. Big difference. That costs a lot of money. Another case in point was steel. Prices for steel, which this house uses over $100,000 worth of steel. I don't know if you can, well, you can't really make out, but there's steel beams all around the outside of the house. And those steel beams cost a lot of money, and they went up. The price of steel went up 3x over the course of the time difference between when we went to build and when I actually built the house. So the price changes a lot, all sorts of stuff. The other thing I learned was that governments are corrupt. I learned that complexity causes chaos. I learned that you have to really concern yourself with erosion, and I learned that changes cost a lot of money. But I'll go into each of these. Now, government corruption, I saw this firsthand. Just to get approved to build my house, it took 3.5 years. Now, I'm living in the state of California, which is one of the most litigious, like just all these BS regulations of any state in the nation. And 3.5 years to get approved to rebuild a fire burnout house is ridiculous. That's what it took us. Now, I tried to speak to a few what are called expediters to move along the process a bit faster when we were going to the different agencies for our permits. You know, we had to get permits from LA County, we had to get permits from the fire department, the police department, we had to get geologic surveys approved by the county, we had to go to the California Coastal Commission, and all sorts of different agencies, about a dozen agencies that we had to get approvals from on average. About 2 different approvals from each agency. Now, the expediters would want something like $25,000 in one case to come out and look at my house for 30 minutes. This is corruption. There's no sane way it would cost $25,000 for a dude to come out with a clipboard, other than it's a racket. And they know it. So I won't call out the specific agency that was doing this just absolutely ridiculous corruption, but if anybody in California has built, anyone who lives near the coast in California will probably be able to guess. The next thing is complexity causes chaos. Now, one of the things that we had, I'm actually gonna move this. Now, one thing that you'll notice with my central hallway here is that the levels are different. You know, we have all sorts of different roof lines throughout the entire house, okay? And you see the roof line changes over here, it changes midway through here. Now that roof line change, having those different angles, looks really cool, but it cost a lot of money because the initial pass at doing that roof line, they actually did it wrong. Most people building homes aren't used to these different intersecting roof line angles, and that ended up costing us some really serious amount of money in timber because some of the support beams for the house were going through that roof line and it had to be completely redone, and it runs through a large section of this house. So that cost a lot of money, but you know, as did the architects. You know, we spent over $100,000 on architects to design everything. The complexity, right, is not going to get you necessarily the biggest bang on your buck. The next thing that's pretty important is erosion. Now, during the build process itself and even just the design process, erosion happened. We have a support wall on my driveway that wasn't properly retrofitted for erosion control. It didn't have enough seepage, it didn't have enough porousness, and the heavy clay that exists out here in the Santa Monica Mountains of Malibu actually pushed, you know, it soaks up that water and it pushed the wall out because we didn't have proper drainage. And that is something that's frankly important, but it wasn't thought of, okay? We've also suffered massive erosion around one of our hillsides for a completely separate reason. I hate squirrels, okay? I absolutely hate these squirrels. They just keep burrowing and, you know, softening up the soil, and then it all washes away in the rains, which we don't get much of out here. But the point being is it's expensive problems to fix. Fixing retaining walls, especially in California where you need permits and all this other stuff for retaining walls, is really expensive. Now, I'm just gonna hire the labor and give them a plan myself because I don't like permitting or I don't like going through that process, and I'd rather do it myself. And the last thing that I learned is that change orders are very expensive. When you're going through the home building process, you have the option of saying, oh, I want this door. Actually, I think this coat of paint would look better over there, or I'm not too hot on this light. I'd like to change it up and do a different sort of light. I don't want to go for that sort of candlelit vibe. If you want to be that person with, you know, changes, or I'd like the thicker glass, or I'd like the this, just prepare to spend a lot of money. If there is somebody indecisive that you are, you know, maybe your partner or, you know, whoever else is working on the home with you, I encourage them to just not be able to make any changes during the home building process. It'll cost you an inordinate amount of money. That's all, folks. I hope you learned something here. You know, I'd encourage you to really understand that the price for building a home, your home, may change a lot, that the government and the permitting process and the expediters and all this stuff is costly. Some of it is necessary, and it will definitely add a lot of cost to your house, especially if you're near a place like California, maybe some places in Europe. Complexity causes chaos. Keep things simple if you can. Erosion, I'd always keep that in mind with how you're going to be supporting your hills and all that stuff, depending on what sort of area you live in. And change orders are the devil. They just cost a lot of money. So with that being said, comment below if you have questions or any comments for me. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. I mainly talk about marketing knowledge and how you can create your own business on the internet and earn passive income. That's how I've made my money. I've sold over $20 million worth of products for myself and other companies that have paid me commissions. And I've done fairly well for myself, and I just love living free and encouraging others to do so as well. All the best. Have a great day or night.